We're asking support from our Shaykh, inshallah, to send us something that is going to give benefit to us, dunya and akhirat. We are in need of that. Any knowledge that brings you arrogance, any knowledge that teaches you to say, I know, is coming from shaitan. Knowledge is supposed to make you to say, I don't know. Knowledge, if it leads you to arrogance, it is not knowledge. It's coming from shaitan. Because the knowledge must make a man to be humble. For a believer, unbeliever, they may think they discover the world looking at themselves. Just looking at their surrounding, they say this is the center of the world. Looking at themselves, they say, I am the center of the universe. That's what every tyrant is saying. That's what every Firaun is saying. Looking at only himself and say, I am the center, I am the most important. Because knowledge has an owner too, it has a creator. This is something that people outside of Islam, they're not understanding also. Because when you look at Judaism and Christianity, there's so many things that is missing also in their books, in their practices, and the knowledge of this dunya, not being able to make that connection because it's not a completed knowledge, it's not a completed religion. Now, they put in things here and there, and they say it's always changing, and knowledge is just from outside. No. Knowledge, there is a creator of the knowledge. In fact, one of the names of Allah is what? Alim. Al-Alim, the one who has knowledge, the one who creates the knowledge. So knowledge is not another ilah, not another deity, not another thing that you are going to worship. That's why you say there's division in Western civilization with Christianity. They call that enlightenment. When they no longer look to their religion to answer questions, now they look at the world to answer questions. It only goes a certain distance, but it is not complete too. So the knowledge that you think that you discover by yourself, which man today is not going to think, I discovered the knowledge? Huh? Everyone is saying, I discover. This is the one who discovered this, is the one who discovered that. All that knowledge is everything that you are going to discover, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already created it. He is the one who has put it there. So even when you find something, for a believer, you find something that you never found before. You don't credit that discovery to me, to yourself. You credit that discovery to Allah. That is why we say Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Glory be to Allah. And so when they're teaching you knowledge, so many different kinds of knowledges, and since that split with religion, spirituality, and the worldly knowledge, when you see that split and that fighting with each other, and because there's no connection anymore right now, so there is this thing they call psychosis. They get sick because they are fighting with each other. You cannot connect, there is no balance there. There is no balance. When there is no balance, what do? You swing from one extreme, then you swing to the other extreme. Then you swing from one extreme, you swing to the other extreme. There is no balance. And so, when you are hearing knowledges that is in contradiction to Islam, contradiction to spirituality, that is the level that they know. You understand? They haven't discovered Allah yet. They don't even believe that this nature has a creator. They think everything comes up by itself, which is completely ridiculous. So that kind of knowledge, if you are in that dunya and you have to chase after that kind of knowledge, chase it, it's okay. Know it, you must know. Don't put it in your heart. Put it from here to here, use it. Don't make it to be something that you are going to believe. Just yesterday they're finding out. Just yesterday the Western world is finding out that certain things that Islam has already discovered 1400 years ago. And when you look, especially with Christianity, you see when it comes out, they are the most anti-knowledge for a long time. They are the most anti-knowledge. Not only anti-knowledge of other religions, they say everything is coming from satanic sources, they're saying. But they're anti-knowledge even from things that are of this world. They say that must be satanic. So you see women collecting herbs and plants and getting knowledge from the world. They say, oh, this is Satan. Now the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he champions knowledge. But he says every knowledge, there has to be a certain station to that knowledge. When you finish that station of that knowledge, you move to another station. Not every knowledge is just the same. But every knowledge must begin with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Every knowledge must begin with that. Even at the time when the Muslims were discovering so much knowledges that they never discovered before, coming from the Chinese, from the Indians, from the Greeks, from the Romans, from the Europeans, they're coming in. Muslims have always been, people from the East have always been very curious about what is happening. And taking it and seeing what fits and what doesn't fit, how to make our lives better with that knowledge. Even with that, when they were holding on to Islam properly, it brings them to higher station in this world and spiritually. When they get too excited with that knowledge, and they starting to overthink and saying, I know, I know, I know, I know. Then thinking and starting to take on the disease of philosophy. Just talking. No tasting. Just talking. And that's the time you see the faith going lower and lower, and when the faith, which is the life of the man, goes lower and lower, the energy goes lower, the spirit goes lower, you become weak. Enemies can just come up and destroy you, inside and outside, very easily. And so, like what Holy Prophet ﷺ saying, what Imam al-Ghazali is saying, what we mentioned in the khutbah, people of taste. You have to taste. Why is this? Where is this coming from? Holy Prophet ﷺ. So any knowledge that you cannot trace back to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, it is Malayani. It is. Because the Holy Prophet ﷺ, is he just a prophet? No. He is a master of the first and the last. He is the owner of all knowledges, hidden and open, dunya and akhirat. And he's speaking about certain knowledges that only now people are starting to understand. I remember particularly Shaykh, and he's saying one hadith, Prophet ﷺ is saying, when you get this certain kind of sickness, he says, run away from it, he says. As if a lion were chasing you. It's only today they found out that that sickness, that virus, under the microscope, that virus, that bacteria, it looks exactly like a lion. Of course, the body has to catch up with the spirit. It's not the spirit having to catch up with the body. So, and the Prophet ﷺ is saying also, knowledge, it is a lost treasure for a believer. But the whole point is for it to support your belief, not for your belief to go, not for your belief to get weak. And don't worry, we don't have a relationship with knowledge as Christianity does, that we deny it. We take it, we find it, we understand the glory of Allah in that knowledge. It's only because of the fall of the Khilafat that there's so much confusion, and they support the Muslims who are the most ignorant and violent, the most heretical, And they say this is the fantasy Islam we've been fantasizing for 1400 years. This has become true. This is the real Islam. People are believing in it. Now Muslims are believing in it. Every sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, it contains endless knowledge. Endless. So, it is knowledge, it is ma'rifat. Now, to know what is knowledge to you. We enter into tariqat to see what is the most important for us. Maybe before we enter, we see so many things interesting and curious. Just because it's interesting, just because you're curious about it, doesn't mean that it is beneficial for you. You feel you should read every book, you should see everything, you should know. You know, then what? What are you looking for? If you're still looking for this dunya, you lose. You lose. You can read every book, but if it is not pointing to the Lord of the heavens and what He wants from it, all those books, they are misleading you. They are misleading you. Oh, but you know about yourself. Yes, but are they teaching you about yourself and your Creator? No, it's misleading you. Meaning, it is still knowledge, but it reaches only to a certain level. You can take it up to that level, don't take it beyond that level. If you take it beyond that level, you may lose your faith. The knowledges that the early Arabs, they took, they don't just take it and swallow it just like that. They filter it. They filter it. They take only the best. And they made all that ancient knowledges also to become better. That Europe then took from that, and it gave birth to their Renaissance. It gave birth to their new civilization, brought them out from the Dark Ages. What was the Dark Ages? What was happening in the Dark Ages, they're saying? The church was ruling in the Dark Ages. That's all. It became very dark because the church was ruling. It was filled with superstitions. So, when did it become Renaissance? It became Renaissance. Where did it spark from? Italy? Italy is taking from everywhere also. Thieves. Yeah. Renaissance came from what? Renaissance came from the Muslims. When Spain fell, Andalusia, and the Christians with that kind of fanaticism that the Muslims today, they have, certain Muslims, they say everything is satanic, everything is satanic, we must kill and destroy everything. They came and they destroyed 800 years of Islamic civilization, 800 years. We cannot even imagine it. Cannot imagine. It's not 800 years and 750 years, 799 years they were low class and then suddenly they became the most. No. For all of its time, they were a superpower. Superpower not just according to knowledge, but they were extremely wealthy. They were controlling the trade lines. Everything coming from east to west has to stop by the Muslims, and the Muslims were controlling it. You understand? This is another secret that people today, they don't understand. You can choke and you can control supply and demand. You have the power. When the Muslims were making that supply and demand, we had the power. When it was taken away from our hands, then what are we going to do? No matter how much philosophy, knowledge you have, you know, this moves around. This turns the world around. You don't control it. You lost. They were extremely wealthy. They were extremely intellectual. They were extremely artistic. The reconquistadors, they came. They destroyed 99% of Islamic civilization of 800 years. The 1% that they saved made Spain the most advanced nation on the face of the earth. 1% that they took from Islam. That's why the early reconquistadors, the ones who reconquered Spain, they have a hate-love relationship also with Islam. Because their faith is saying to them, you must destroy everything, their faith. But their intelligence is saying, this is high-level knowledge here. That's why even in the tomb of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, the first monarchs of the reconquistadors, you'll find shahadat everywhere. You go inside and you see this is not a Christian tomb. Going back and forth. Well, that 1% made them the most advanced. And from that 1% spread to the rest of the Europe. So, and some, it is reported, it took some from the palace, some jariyas and stuff, they bring to France. That made France to be the most artistic nation. Open there. Yeah? Because the jariyas, they are the most advanced, the most sophisticated. Yeah. So, knowledge. All this kind of knowledge, if it doesn't make you to discover your Allah and to discover yourself, it is going to fail. 800 years, it is going to fail. Because you're using it only for your ego. You're using it only for the dunya. They were using it for the dunya. Muslims are fighting against each other. They were rebelling against the Khilafat that was in, I believe at that time in Egypt. They were declaring themselves the Khalifa. The year that Sultan that he made, I think it's, they call it Medina. Medina simply means city. And he made his capital. It was the way that the West describe it. They said this is a magical thing. They've never seen it anywhere before. In the palaces, they used to have small, like streams filled with mercury. Light hitting. Everything was made to be like what? Like paradise. You understand? Like paradise. Just like paradise. Just for pleasure. When it becomes that, when you cannot balance, then it will fall. Because the ego takes over and the ego is always going to fight. So you have Muslims against Muslims. Muslims hiring Christians to fight against each other. That's why the Ottomans, they made it a very clear understanding. Don't make anything perfectly. Even the calligraphy, which are called letters of perfection, the way they frame it, something is crooked. Obviously, you can see something is broken. Not because they cannot make it perfectly, because they understood perfection is only for Allah. They are not being proud. They're saying Allah is still there. They're not being proud. That the sultans, they come out, and there is a crier to say, everyone is saying, long live the sultan. Sultan is the great one. Praising the sultan, and there's a man who's walking backwards saying, Ya Sultan, don't forget Allah is higher than you. Allah is higher than you. Allah is higher than her. Understanding. Then that time, there is that balance. Because man, when there is no balance, he starts thinking that he is Lord. No other creature will think he is Lord. No other creature. No angel will think he is Lord. No jinn is going to think he is Lord. No animal is going to think he is Lord. No mineral is going to think he is Lord. Only mankind. Allah has given us that ego to think it is the only one. So la ilaha illallah, it is a fight against your idea of your existence, of your specialness, of your divinity. You understand? People have wrong idea. They're coming into Sufism, into Tariqat, into Tasawwuf to understand that they're divine. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. They say, oh, the divine is in me, and I am in the divine. No, it is to understand that you are nothing. You haven't come to that station yet, you don't know nothing. So, the knowledge, it must begin with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Everything must end also. Sadaqallahul Azim. Words of Allah, it comes true. So taste that knowledge. The best knowledge is the knowledge that you experience. May Allah Save us from knowledge that doesn't benefit us, it doesn't stick to our heart, that we can just use, that our heart will not be busy with that, but our heart is going to be busy with the knowledge of Allah, inshallah. Fatiha. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Anything else anyone wants to